Guys, welcome to India today. I have to say that when I was watching the Ballerina, my phone was away from me. I couldn't look at it. I was absolutely glued. I was completely soaked in the film. I want to speak to you a bit about, while growing up, did you have a favorite action set piece from a film? Like for me, the first Matrix film, I was absolutely mind blown as a kid. I couldn't believe this was happening on the big screen. Do you have your first visual memory of a big action set piece?
Well,
Do
that's a
I?
good one.
Yeah,
That's a good. The Matrix was.
yeah, Matrix absolutely was. As
Yes.
a kid, for me, it was the truck chase in the first Raiders in Raiders of the Lost Ark was the one that just it stuck with me in terms of it's all practical. It's just dirty and it's great. The it was creative in what was going on. It was vulnerable and tough. I just that really stuck with me.
I think I have. I mean, as a kid, what first comes to mind is Indiana Jones
Yeah.
and, all the adventure movies that I used to watch. And then, of course, I just love Kill Bill.
Mm.
So to me, yeah, any of that.
Yeah,
Any of
and then
those
the other
is,
one that comes to like is the professional, the actual standoff
yes, yes,
with Jean Reno and
yes.
Natalie. And I always wish they would have done a Natalie's character in that. But anyways, that's just something out there. But the just the feeling of it, the design of it, the music was perfect. I love that whole kind of takeout scene was embedded in my skull for a long time.
Right. There is that scene in the film where you ask Keanu that Keanu tells you that you can leave. And then you ask him, how do I leave? And he's like, you just go to the front door and leave, right? I mean, he says that in his own demeanor as John Wick. And then you ask him, why didn't you leave? Like, and then he's like, I'm working on that. There is this whole very subtle undercurrent between your characters early on when we see them meet, right? How did you and Keanu, because you met after 10 years, correct me if I'm wrong, on a film set, how do you get into your characters' minds when you do a scene like that? Because that plays out so well on the big screen when we watch it.
I don't know if I understand. I don't know
Like
if I
how do you
understand.
get into in terms of also, knowing Keanu, working with him about getting into the headspace of this is a guy that I'm meeting for the first time, if you're correct?
Yes, that's right.
I'm correct about what you're saying?
That's right, yes.
How was it playing and meeting him for the first time when I actually know him for
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's just I don't know. I felt like, having Keanu on set, like and like any all the other actors that have been in the John Wick movies before, like Ian and Angelica, Lance, it was kind of like a it was kind of like a weird moment for me,
Mhm.
like witness, like seeing, watching myself from the from outside, like an
You know what
out of
actually,
body experience. I
yeah.
was like, oh my God, I am actually really in John Wick. Like I'm living in this
What also
reality now, and
really what helps, I think, too, is that when Keanu is in the suit and he is John Wick on set, that alone has its just because it's so iconic now that helps.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
it's like
saying. I
when you
was
see it
literally
is
like, it was actually the first scene we shot
it was
together.
yeah.
That was the first scene I did with Keanu. So it was at the very beginning of the filming, and I was also kind of like trying to find the character myself. Like I was trying to figure out who she is. So it was kind of like a good, like, I don't know, chronological way of
It
like
was for sure.
getting, yeah,
Oh,
getting
absolutely.
Yeah.
to start that relationship with him. It was, and like the character, I have so much respect for Keanu, and I look up to him in many ways, and yeah, he's just wonderful. So it was not hard at all to to be with him on set. Yeah.
Hannah, if you could swap for a day a role with Keanu and you could challenge him to play a character of yours from any of the films, if you could swap,
Oh,
what would you take him on?
I would definitely swap in Knock Knock. See how
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I think he would take that opportunity
in a
immediately.
heartbeat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I think anything else you would say would be like, oh, like that. You know what? I've been waiting to do that. I
That
will
would be
bury
fun.
you up to the neck.
Yes, I
But
would give
you
him
know,
that the sweet revenge that he wants.
Yeah.
Len, tell me, Anna and Keanu are such iconic action stars, and we've seen them do that. What if you had to cast them in a rom-com or a musical? How do you think would they play off? It's a different setting. Like Keanu with a guitar, he's done
I
it
think
back in the day.
one, Anna's very funny, very like she would do amazing. I could see like I think there's a comedy with straight man Keanu, him doing the straight man. I would I don't know what the concept is yet. I think it would be wonderful.
I think it would be a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
would love to do that. Let's work on Keanu, see if we can if we can convince him, because for him, I think it would be a very quite like uncomfortable place, but I think he's down for it. He would be down for it.
Anna, is there a favorite Keanu Reeves offset quote that you have kept with yourself, like maybe written down somewhere in your mind? Because I mean, he's everything. He's so humble. Uh, every
Yeah,
time we get to hear him speak, that kindness in his heart is so real.
yeah,
Is there something that he has told you that has stayed with you, and perhaps you've kept it with
yes,
yourself?
absolutely. When we were shooting Knock Knock, I my English was really bad. I was learning my script phonetically. I couldn't really communicate much with anybody really, and we were having a really bad day on set once. Keanu and I were hanging out in the green room. We were taking a break, and I was crying, and I was really upset about something that had happened, and I was just trying him with my really bad English to explain and like just vent a little bit.
Mm.
And I said at the end, like, anyways, whatever, we're not saving lives. And he looked at me and he said, we are, Anna. We do save lives with,
Mm.
we change people's lives. And that always just stuck with me. Like I think it's it is what we do is really important. Being an artist is important, and how we communicate and what we communicate to audiences is really important. And it's good to always remember that the impact and the influence that we have in audiences and people. And so he's so kind, and he's so thoughtful that just always, like, I have that in my mind always.
Yeah, that
I never forgot that. Yeah.
that falls in line with in terms of because what Keanu's not somebody that is very comfortable with praise. When we're doing a scene of just telling him, how well the scene was, he's just too humble for that. And I know, so when
Yeah, yeah.
but when I'm telling him about the actual like audience reaction, and I remember this kind of just made me think about when you were saying that he, I would be talking about, can you imagine when the audience, when they see how you're responding to the director and how the director is going to take that, the audience is, they're going to go, oh shit, like this is, and then he lights up, picturing, oh yeah, the audience is going to enjoy that.
Yeah.
Don't praise me on too, like I don't, but let's talk about how the audience is going to respond, which is wonderful.
Wow. And I think that's the reason why sort of Ballerina stays with you. It's so intense and absolute thrill from the start to the end. I can't wait for everyone to watch the film. Congratulations, sending you lots of love from India.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.